Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today will be our Game Week 4 team selection. I know it's been a long 2 weeks without football, but of course looking forward to the football back on Saturday. Of course, you guys have been smashing the like button. 350 likes is the aim for this video, and let's get straight into it. So before we get on to our goalkeeper and our back three, I kind of want to just highlight where we are in the season thus far. Of course, last week we got 75 points in Game Week 3. We're currently 1.58 million in the world. And we have a team value of 100.5 and one free transfer. I'm going to be honest, it's not ideal where we are right now, but I do think, considering the fact that the likes of Haaland has scored 7 goals so far, of course it's going to plummet my rank when he does well. But considering he's done so well, I think we're at a good place, 1.58 million in the world. And again, I say it all the time, but he's not going to do it every single week. Of course, I'm not relying on Haaland to not do it for me to have a green arrow. It's more so a lot of players that you'd have if you have Haaland, like the likes of Emile Smith-Rowe, Chris Wood. If these type of players do well, then I have no chance of a green arrow. Whereas if Haaland maybe just gets 1 goal and those guys blank, then we're likely getting a green. But yeah, so I am happy with where we are in the season. I wish I had maybe 1 or 2 more free transfers. That would be ideal, of course, but I am where I am, so I can't complain. But yeah, definitely a good spot to be in. And I think even those without Haaland, there are a lot of people that are doing well, and there's a lot of people with Haaland that are doing bad. So it kind of really depends on a lot of the other players you have. So it's not just him, of course. But let's get into the team. So on goal, we have Dean Henderson versus Leicester at home. I think this is a great fixture for Crystal Palace. I think they've been quite poor and disappointed near the start of the season. But now with the certainty of Guehi staying, maybe they can be more solid at the back. Again, I'm not banking on a Crystal Palace clean sheet here, but I would say it's fairly likely. I'm actually going to bring up a stats from Abdul Rahman on Twitter, and it'll go through some of the bookies odds, and I think those are always good pointers when you're looking at clean sheet odds. So let's take a look at them. So from the bookies odds from FPL Salah, Crystal Palace have a 41% chance of a clean sheet, which is great. It's good to see that, it's not just me that's thinking Henderson has a good chance of a clean sheet. It's also the bookies having them down as it as well. So it's always a good sign. And of course, our next player, Trent Alexander-Arnold, with Nottingham Forest at home, 50% chance the bookies have him, which is very, very high. But it's not just that with Trent. I feel Trent has been phenomenal this season, and I know a lot of people that watch England would say the same. For England against Ireland, he was amazing, and he's playing with so much confidence. And this lot team looks very, very good. I have to say, I did underestimate him at the start of the season. And we'll get into captaincy in a second. A bit of a rogue shout, but I think he might be a potential captaincy option. But yeah, Trent versus Forest at home, an amazing fixture, and definitely one to be happy owning. So our next 2 defenders are Anthony Robinson at home to West Ham and Pedro Porro at home to Arsenal. 2 players I don't think are likely to keep a clean sheet this week. Spurs with a 20% chance and Fulham with a 26% chance. And I do think, without looking at that ticker, it is likely both concede. And you're just hoping that they get an attack and return. Of course, in that Spurs game, I think it is going to be an amazing fixture. I'm very excited for that game. And usually I'm quite scared going up against Arsenal, but I think if we're to ever get a result, it would be when they're missing the likes of an Odegaard or Declan Rice. Anthony Robinson, look, he's not been a phenomenal asset, but I think for the price, 4.5 that I got him at, he's been good for sure. How does he look long term on my team? I'm unsure. Whereas the likes of Porro, he's a player I'm definitely going to hold on to. It's just not an ideal fixture this week. Of course, I'm hopeful of attacking returns, but again, I can't see any clean sheets between the 2 of them. So let's get into the midfield. So taking a look at the midfield, this is where things get a small bit better. Maybe on paper though. So I suppose we'll start with Bruno Fernandes, who has been very, very disappointing. But again, for me, I feel like I need to hold on to him for another week. And a lot of managers will disagree, but that's completely fine. That Southampton away fixture, I feel like United could get a big result here. And though it doesn't seem like it, and there's nothing pointing towards it, but I just feel like United usually do well in these type of fixtures. They're after playing bad in the last few weeks, and now they have a chance to maybe turn things after a 2-week international break. And hopefully Bruno Fernandes is the one that's going to be involved in something. So yeah, I do think I'm going to be holding on to Bruno for another week. And me personally, I like it. You know, a lot of people would have gotten rid of him, and the only thing I can complain about is another price drop. I think he's likely to go down to a 8.3 relatively soon. But again, if he gets a goal, maybe he'll fly back up. So again, Bruno Fernandes, let's see what happens. Our next player is probably Diogo Jota and Salah that we should discuss. We'll talk about them together. Look, I thought Liverpool were phenomenal against United last week. But this Nottingham Forest, the home fixture, you know, it's great for him. Diogo Jota, who did get subbed off last game for Darwin, and I do think his minutes will start looking less and less as the weeks go on. Of course, we'll need to see how they look with the likes of Champions League, but Jota is a firm hold for me, and I still think he's a great option for the time being. I do think I will eventually get rid of him, maybe on wildcard at 6, I want to say. But again, an amazing option still, and I think you're in that awkward position where if you're on wildcard, you can't really bring in a Jota, and you might have him anyway, but I feel, you know, I'm in a good spot holding on to him. Of course, Salah, he's probably going to be my captain this week. Doing the business as usual versus United. Has clocked 41 points so far this season. I mean, he's been amazing. Not much else to really say on him other than I can't speak. Other than the fact that he is an amazing captaincy option this week. And of course, there is a debate on whether you go him or Haaland. But of course, he does get that extra point for a clean sheet and for a goal. Before we get into the captaincy options this week, let's discuss Son. Sonny against Arsenal at home, look, it's not ideal. Again, I do still think this is the type of fixture where we can see goals. And I do think with the likes of Declan Rice and Odegaard out now, Arsenal will have way less control. And the fact that it is in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, you know, I'm a bit more hopeful than if it was at the Emirates. Again, I'm not expecting anything from Son, but I have no issue playing him. Also, another point is with the likes of Odegaard missing now, I know a lot of people have Saka in place for where I have Son. So, you know, I'm actually quite happy holding Son through this fixture with the likes of Brentford at home next week. And of course then United away, which I'm going to actually. But like, Saka is definitely a worse option with Odegaard. I don't care what you say, that's my opinion anyway. And, you know, Arsenal will definitely be players I'll be bringing in game week 6 wildcard. But until then, I'm more than happy to roll the transfer with Son and hold on to him for the time being. Of course, I don't think Spurs have looked, you know, outstanding from an attacking point of view. We are controlling a lot of games and playing well, but from a like return point of view, you know, it's not there yet. And we do need to see the likes of Solanke come back in. I think Solanke will be very, very popular on the likes of a wildcard 6 if people are going there. And I do think we'll see a lot. I don't know how that man has not got a price drop just yet. There's almost like 2 million transfers out for him or something like that. But yeah, it's mad. But yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on. And it will only take something small for Sonny to return like a penalty. And we've seen the likes of Cole Palmer do so well with like 8+ penalties last season. So let's see what happens. Let's get onto a captaincy graphic. So taking a look at our captaincy graphic, we've got Mo Salah versus Trent. I do think these are my two best captains for this game week. Mohamed Salah, of course, with 41 points so far. Trent with the 20. 3 goals and 3 assists for Salah. And of course, the numbers looking good for both players. Of course, Trent scored an offside goal against United. And he also got, well, he didn't get, but he had like a 0.99 expected assist for a Jota header in game week 2, I think it was. So the numbers looking good for these two players. Of course, again, I don't need to say too much about Salah. But I do think I am leaning towards Salah captaincy. You know, it's probably about 90% Salah, and 10% of me wants to take a bit of a risk and go Trent. I do genuinely think Trent is a very good option this week. Forest haven't looked great, to be honest. And it will only take the likes of a goal for Trent to be on a 15-pointer and 3 bonus. So a 12-pointer and 3 bonus. Of course, 6 for a goal and 4 for a clean sheet, 2 appearance points. My only issue is also the reduced minutes. You know, now it looks like he's probably playing 75+ minutes. And is likely to be taken off. Again, I'm not going to bank on he's going to get taken off every game, but he's more than likely to be taken off than Salah, I would say. where Salah is likely to be an 85 plus minute man. So I am leaning towards Salah. Let's get on to Salah versus Haaland, which will probably be very popular this week. So the two biggest captaincies this week will definitely be Salah versus Haaland. And I know a lot of people will have the decision to make between the two. And I think people will default with Haaland, of course, scoring a hat-trick last week and the week before. It's absolutely ridiculous. But I do think it's good to keep in mind, the likes of a Salah gets an extra point for a clean sheet and an extra point for a goal. So it takes Salah way less for him to return, I would say, as high as Haaland. Whereas if Haaland scores a singular goal, he's unlikely to be on bonus. Whereas Salah is usually by default getting bonus if he gets if he's likely to get 2+ bonus minimum if he gets a goal. And of course he's way more likely to assist. Often I've watched games with Salah and I thought, Liverpool were at nothing, and then suddenly he passes the ball to someone and it's like magic, they score, and he gets the assist for like nothing crazy, and then he goes on to score. So I feel like he is a player that can make something out of nothing in the middle of games. Whereas Haaland, if City are not playing so well, he needs a chance. So if it's me, I am still leaning towards Salah. I feel Nottingham Forest at home is probably a better fixture than Brentford at home. And again, maybe there is a small bit of bias there. I completely understand if you're looking at it that point of view. But I just feel like Brentford, like in the past, have been quite decent defensively. And they're a very physical side. So they probably will be able to deal with Haaland a small bit better, I want to say. But again, I can completely understand if you go Haaland. That would be in theory if I had both of them. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many of the Haaland owners will go with Salah. I can't imagine too many. But yeah, definitely going to be an interesting week for captaincy. Let's get back to the team. Before we get back into the team, actually, I just wanted to say, it sounded like I was a small bit critical on Haaland on that last section. I just want to say, I have no doubt he's going to score against Brentford. It's just, I don't need to tell you that, you know that, and I'm just trying to explain my case for why I might go for Salah. So let's get back into my team. João Pedro at home to Ipswich, Isaac away to Wolves, Watkins at home to Everton at home. I don't know why I said that twice. On the bench we have Morgan Rogers against Everton at home, of course Ben Johnson and Barco. We'll start with João Pedro, the one and the hero for the international break. He got called up for the Brazil squad, of course. I know you're sick of hearing it. And we've been tracking his flights. That's just what we do as a FPL community. But yeah, no doubt he's a phenomenal option versus Ipswich at home. And I do think he is likely to start. I think he's had enough time to train, and I think Hurtsela will play him. He's a young manager and he'll want to play his best teams so early on. So I do think João Pedro will start, and that's why he is starting on my own team. It's a very big shame that I have to bench Morgan Rogers. I do like him this week at home to Everton, but again, he was always going to be a player that is my 8th attacker and always there as an option. So I'm not too worried about it, but I wish I could fit him in. Of course, we have Isaac away to Wolves, so he's one that a lot of people are getting rid of, and there's only one route that makes sense to me to get rid of Isaac, which is Saka up to a Salah and Isaac down to a João Pedro. For me, it's great to see a lot of people bringing in the players I have. It's always a good sign with the likes of João Pedro and of course Salah. But Isaac as an option in isolation, I think is phenomenal. It's funny seeing him in press conferences for Sweden saying that he actually enjoys when people get rid of him so he can score. Yeah, I love that type of stuff. But it's good to see, of course, I feel a lot of people, it's easy to kind of go away from the likes of a Saka up to a Salah with those fixtures. It makes sense to me. But I just feel like Isaac could definitely hurt some of those people that got rid of him in that Wolves fixture. Wolves look very, very poor, and Newcastle haven't even looked that great, but Isaac, he's still returning that goal against Tottenham and that assist in that first fixture. So I still think the biggest scores from Isaac is yet to come, but I'm definitely happy holding on to him. Next is Oliver Watkins. Definitely disappointing. He got a jammy assist in that last game. But those fixtures still look phenomenal. Of course, Everton at home this week, who are capitulating a mad result last week against Bournemouth. We won't get into that. But I think Watkins, of course, he got called back early on international break, which is always a good sign for me. It didn't sound like it was an injury. He just wanted to get back in the Villa camp. And I do think it'll be good for him. You know, I expect him to get a bit more minutes in that game. Now, saying that, Jean Duran looks phenomenal, and Emery speaks very highly of him, so I'm a bit skeptical. But again, I feel like Watkins is very proven, and he will get more minutes in this next game. So let's see what happens. I think overall, I really like my team for this particular week. You know, if you look at a lot of the players we have, I feel like Trent and Pedro Porro are probably the two best defenders in the game. Of course, you have the likes of Gabriel and Saliba, but these lot have attacking threat, and Spurs look a small bit better defensively this season. They're everything you'd want in a defender. Of course, we have Henderson at home. I know we've already went through this, but with Leicester at home, like, taking this 1 week in isolation, you'd expect something from him, hopefully. And of course, we have a lethal finisher in Diogo Jota and Salah, who's done it for weeks now. Of course, Son and Bruno have been the letdowns, but I feel like this is a great week for Bruno. And I know maybe United fans would agree, but everyone else mightn't, which I understand, but that's just what I think. And a Son against Arsenal, I am hopeful as a Spurs fan. Again, I don't want to speak about it too much, but I do think it is something we could get something from. And Son was likely to come up with the goods, and I do expect Solanke to come back. So again, this is the team. Of course, leave a comment and let me know what you think of the team, or if you have any general questions about this game week 4. It's been a while since we've had football, so be sure to ask as many questions as possible. I'll get back to absolutely everyone. And if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button. I appreciate every single one of you that tune into these videos, and I will see you for the deadline stream on Saturday.